Hello, everybody. Attack Power here with another update for our new Dukla Pass DLC with the patch notes here. These are a lot of times almost as important, if not more important, than the actual new divisions being added to the game. Yes, 6 new divisions is the exciting part, but in terms of like the health of the game and it continuing to be enjoyable, these patch notes are far more important. So let's dive right into here. So new units, these were promised in the War DLC but delayed. So we have the third Mechanized replaced the Valentine 3 with the Valentine 10, whatever. Bazugli replaced one card of 3/6 Yak 9K. Okay. Oh, added one card. Okay, fine. And 126th Gurnastrelki, I think, added one card of BT5 Recon. Okay. Not that exciting. So let's continue on. Data fixes. We have some misspellings, stealth value. So technically these, I think these will be better. Fix doesn't necessarily mean they weren't working. It could have been working too well, as in like you couldn't see these guys or something like that. Sapper Monta, Fusiliers, the crappy howitzers to medium. That's cool. Hetzer Jagdpins for aim time 3 to 4 seconds. Ah, that's a nerf actually. That's actually a nerf because now their aim time is actually slower. That sucks. That's unfortunate. Apparently it was supposed to be that way though. Fokker 10 not driving. Okay, well we certainly want that to work. Oh yeah, okay, yeah. Fix the Mter Razveka affecting the front line. That's good. Like got rid of that. Third VDD, fix Zis 3 AT's availability. Okay. Fixed Sherman 5's rate. Okay, cool. Generic. All right, here's the important stuff. So, first thing, increased MP44's efficiency. Now, what this actually means specifically, what they did was decrease the damage by 15% and increase the suppression by, I believe, like 33% or something like that, maybe even 50%. It was a pretty significant buff to his suppression and a relatively small nerf to damage. And truth be told, at the end of the day in this game, suppression is more important than damage most of the time. Like 90% of the time, you prefer the gun suppress more than damage. Yeah, obviously you want to kill things, but at the same time, the unit will naturally die just by being suppressed, right? It wins you the fight, and then you do damage while they run away. So, like, this overall is a pretty big buff. I'm not sure how significant this change will feel in game. I don't think MP44 units are suddenly going to become like the greatest thing in the game. I definitely do not think that from the limited play I've had with units with MP44s. It's not like, oh my god, they're now so good, but they definitely feel better. There's a very distinct and noticeable feel that like, okay, this unit doesn't feel kind of useless anymore. So I definitely want to like get into 78 Sturm and stuff and like Ski Jaeger and check out units that like, you know, like the big 13-man squads of MP44s, the big chunky MP44 squads. I do want to check those out and see how those feel comparatively speaking. Continuing down here, decrease flat 3688's price from 120. This is really nice. So basically the 88, specifically the Flak 36 variant, I think there's like other variants like Flak 37 and stuff, which I think are similar, but the 88 is the one, you know, I always complain about how like absolute garbage it is. At 110 points, it's still a stretch. Like it's honestly still tough to say it's a good call in, but 10 points is 10 points, right? That is just less. It just is less painful of a unit to lose. So this is nice, definitely overdone. Decrease Panzer IV G's price from 65 to 60 points. We'll just do actually all three of these together. Decrease Panzer IV G's price, Panzer H's price, and Stug G's price by 5 points across the board. This is pretty big. This is not a small change. It is small, like point wise, it's small, but it's not a change that should be overlooked. This is a pretty significant buff to Axis divisions in general, which I think we can all agree currently are noticeably worse than their Western allied counterparts. I say Western allied, well, honestly, even Russian counterparts. It's like, truth be told, like across the board, the Soviets have been buffed significantly over the last few years. Like they're almost every time buffs happen, it's basically to the Soviets, mostly a little bit to the Axis, and the allies, Western allies are just OP all the time. This is a nice step to try to bring the Axis back in line with both the allied factions. Because right now, the allies are just better. Statistically, factually, maybe not in 10v10, my 10v10 players, but for everybody else in the game, allies are just better. And this is a nice step towards trying to balance that out. Because now, Axis medium tanks really should trade pretty well, right? When a Panzer IV kills a Sherman, you're now picking up 15 or 20 points in that trade efficiency. When you're losing a Panzer IV-G to a T-34, you've only lost 5 points. Like, you're only 5 points over what they're paying for it. You know, here you're only 10 points over now. It does make a difference. You see like small things, but over the course of a game, that could be a couple hundred points of difference. That's a lot, especially because, you know, the vast majority of Axis divisions depend on these 4 units in some way, shape, or form. So that's a pretty big buff. Decrease the FH-18M's price from 65 to 50. So this is the worst RD piece in the game. At least it was. I should say it was. At this price point, it's still bad. Like, it's a bad gun. Like, let me make sure that's very clear. If you watch my live stream from the other day, I played a horrible game on Lenina. Oh, God, it's brutal. And my opponent was playing a card of these. They didn't do anything. I'll be honest with you. Like, and he had so much artillery. It was like, like he had like 15 guns. It was absolutely absurd. It was the most useless thing ever outside of the garbage map of Lenina. So, like, but I literally watched the, or, you know, shells fall, and you can tell which ones are the one of this FH-18s because they're smaller. It's just bad. Like, it's just overall like a bad gun. It doesn't do anything. So even at this 55-point mark, I think this is the right price for it. That doesn't mean the division's good. I mean, the unit is good. It's still bad. Like, that's all there is to it. It's still bad. Change all Martyrs base availability from 04812 to 51015. I mean, that's a nice buff across the board for Axis divisions. Just Martyrs, you can vet these up to 4 and still have 4 of them. That's really nice. So that's all Martyrs. That's really nice. Change all Dushka base availability from 4812. Okay, that just puts them in line with the other like MG42s and 50 cals and stuff. So that's nice. That's a good change for them. Another Russian buff getting in there again. Like, we don't go without buffing the Soviets at some point. Change the FH-1419 base availability. I think this is an arty piece. Almost 100% sure that's an arty piece. So a little buff to availability there. Set this price at 50 points. Okay. I would assume it's a buff. Decrease this one's from 60. So these are all German guns of some sort, I believe. All these like cheap, like crappy arty guns. So these are all, I mean, these are all buffs across the board, mostly for the Axis. And there's more down here, but these are the big ones. I mean, this is a big deal. I mean, Axis might be not constantly the lower dog here now. I don't think this makes Axis divisions better. I strongly doubt these buffs suddenly make the Axis like the premier faction. The Allied divisions are still really strong. Soviet divisions are still super cost efficient. Western Allied divisions are still just like super powerful across the board, super well balanced with lots of availability and stuff. You know, that's not gone. It's just that the Axis divisions now have a lot more price efficiency. And generally speaking, very, very generally speaking, I feel like the Axis tend to be higher quality units at a more expensive price point, while especially like Soviet units tend to be lower quality at a lower price point. It just allows them to spam much harder. Western Allies, it's hard to say. A lot of their units are just stupidly good for their price, although they tend to also be somewhat expensive at times too. But continuing on here, Axis. We decrease the OB KFRF FF 75 mil. I have no idea what this is. It's a gun of some sort that's 75 millimeters. Not a clue what that is. 45 points is pretty cheap. That's a pretty big buff. Like, that's 15 points. That's Jesus, that's like a 30% decrease. Like, that's not small. That's pretty significant. Change the Puska Antikar's availability from 6812 to 612. All right. It's not really a buff or a nerf. I mean, you're never bringing these guys in C phase, so it's technically a buff. It's just like so minor. It doesn't really. You're usually bringing these in A phase. So like B phase, it's kind of like, okay, like whatever. Decrease CC Kev's price from 25 to 20. So this is in Rukma and probably another Finnish division or two. So that's a nice little buff for them. 5 points there. Decrease this gun's price. I think that's an RD piece again. It's a light RD piece. Whatever it is, it's a pretty light RD piece. So, I mean, fine. I'm not sure what it affects. Changed and standardized the Lati L39's availability to 2612. Okay. I mean, I think that's a buff. I mean, it's kind of just in line with all the AT rifles. And then we have, the Puska Antikar is Romanian. I'm sorry. I said this as Finnish. My bad. These are Romanian. This is the Finnish one, the Lati. Then we have the changed rocket. This is also Rukma. Increased its availability. That's pretty good. That's a nice buff for them. Change the Pack 43's availability from 246 to 36. That's just a straight buff. That's really nice. That's moving the availability forward. So Pack 43s are really expensive. It's the big, like, what, 88 AT gun. It costs like 100 some points. It's you know, the biggest AT gun in the game, really. Change the Jaeger Spare Troops price from 2015. Okay, so finally, these Spare Troop are on the same price as Aufklar. So it might be worth playing them now? Probably not, because usually the Aufklar are the ones that come in the cool transports, and these guys don't. And it looks like it's just the Jaeger one, not all Spare Troop, but just the Jaeger ones. Change Panzerjäger's base availability from 4.8 to 5.10. That's just a straight buff, so nice. This is the AT unit with the 6 MP40s and the Panzerschreck, so that's a nice little buff to them. Change the Rohan Markerzak to 5.10, 6.12. Oh, yeah, so, spit it out. The Sturm Pioneers. Sturm Pioneer units got an availability buff. I actually don't see it here. Yeah, I don't see it. Weird. Yeah, so these, like, basically the small Axis Flamer teams got an availability buff to 6.12 instead of 5.10. Not huge, but it is nice, honestly. Like, the Axis kind of need it. Their CQC, generally speaking, is weaker than Allied CQC. Generally. Continuing on here. Increase GD Sturm Group's price from 20 to 25. So this is the MP44 with, like, an MG42 unit in Großdeutschland. So this is because MP44's got better. This unit has now been nerfed, so it's actually worse. Still probably a good unit. The increased SS Sturm Grenadiers price from 30 to 35. Wow. So this unit is found in just, I think, like Group Tatra and maybe like 122nd or something. There's a couple random units with this unit in it. This is a pretty big nerf to these guys, actually. 35 points is a lot. These are MP44 units with 2 MG42s. So it's like 8 MP44s and like 2 MG42s or something like that. So this unit, I would hesitate to bring this. At 35 points, you're asking a lot of that unit. Like, think 35 points is similar to a Fallschirmjäger. I cannot see 8 MP44s and 2 MG42s being, like, equivalent to a Fallschirmjäger squad. I don't see it. I'm not seeing it. Decrease Ski Sturmjäger's price from 25 to 20. Now, on the other hand, they then buffed the Sturmjäger in Ski Jaeger. So, and that's a chunky MP44 squad. Ski Sturmjäger's price from 20. Yeah, like right here. Like, my goodness. And then the Sturm Grenadier, though, this is the one that's in 122nd, like the random Finnish Axis German division. So they get a buff, but they get a nerf. I feel like 30 points is the right price for these. Seems weird. You get a price buff, and you get a price buff, but you get a price nerf. That's kind of what it feels like. All right, continuing on. Change Begleit Pioneer's base ability from 3 to 4. That's nice, because it's ridiculous at 3. Like, it's kind of almost a useless unit at 3. There's so few of them. So 4 is nice. Increase Sakeli's rifle ammo. This is, I think the Hungarian, I'm pretty sure it's the Hungarian disheartened mountain unit. The Hadostali or whatever. In those divisions, I'm pretty sure that's what that is. The Hungarian, and the fact that another Hungarian thing's right after it implies that that's what that is. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. Hungarian ME-210 with the 4 rockets reload from heavy fighter to ground attack plane. I'm assuming that means slower, unfortunately. Oh, no, it's just re-rolled from heavy fighter to ground attack plane. Okay, I don't... Does that do anything? I'm not familiar enough with the code. I'm assuming it means it'll reload slower. That's my guess. Might do absolutely nothing, but that's my guess. 78 Sturms. Change Sturm shoots in base availability from 612 to 918 and decrease number of cards 3 to 2. I like that. That's nice, honestly. It makes that unit way more viable. That's the 13-man, like, Giga MP44 super squad. It's like the poster child of the MP44. Then we have the 122nd, added the Kubelwagen as a transport for the 45mm AT gun. That's nice. Replaced the Lati German trencher with Finnish ones. Okay, whatever. 116th decreased all Stug and Martyr availability to A phase only. Interesting. Huh. I wonder why 116th deserve that. So overall, I mean, some pretty good buffs to the Axis. Mostly, I mean, obviously these are the real ones up here, like the real good ones. These are more just like slight balancing changes, like very small. The big one here being the Sturm Pioneer increased availability. These Sturm group of changes, they're division specific, honestly. You know, like GD, it's just Großdeutschland and stuff. Only a couple divisions have this thing. This is a pretty big nerf, actually, I would say, for that. Otherwise, you know, Ski Sturmjäger seems stronger. First Ski Jaeger, looking kind of scary, actually. Continuing down into the allies, let's see here. So we decreased the Cromwell 7's front armor from 120 to 105. Finally, thank you. It was so unrealistic that this Cromwell was basically indestructible. It was absurd. So finally, a nerf to these friggin' Cromwells. I hate these GD things. Increased Cromwell 7's tank only availability from 4 to great. Now they have more of them. Eugen, can't you just let Western allies suck for like once? Like one time, can they suck? Decrease the Cromwell H front armor from 120 to 105. Yay. But increased all Churchill Force front armor to... Seriously. They can't let them be slightly worse. Increased all Churchill's front armor from 90 to 105, so they're hard to kill. Increased Churchill Force price from 35 to 40. Thank God. Change VDV Saperty's base availability from 40 to... Okay, so that's a nice little buff to them. They do. I mean, the four Pioneer availability is pretty brutal. I'm not gonna lie. It's not fun. Change Kazaki's evasive. Oh, thank God. They've nerfed the Kazaki's availability down to 9827. Thank you. Thank you. Perhaps the spam of this division will end. Please, God. Rename VZ. Okay, I don't really care. Great. They changed it from this name I can definitely read to this. Why? VZ VOD BTR was so readable. This is not. Brunabo. There's too many consonants. There's too many consonants in a row. I don't know what to do. And I don't even know if they spelled it right. You know how often Eugen misspells things? Is this spelled right even? I want to assume it is, but that's SH twice in a row. I don't even want to try. Bronabochiki. There we go. I'm sure I nailed it. That has to be right. That has to be fire. I'm sure that was spot on. Motorized Vedka and Estonian counterparts can now see my point? No, they meant no and they wrote now. See, I don't think that. I feel like that's misspelled. Anyway, can no longer be can now longer use the cramp BA-20 as a I'm going to assume that meant cannot use the B-20 as a transport. Osna Snipe Saperty can oh my God. No longer. Okay, it's the same thing except they copied the misspelling here. Oh, why, Eugen? Why? Standardize the SU-152 and KV-2's 152mm guns. Suppress radius to be on par with the big guns direct fire one. I don't know if that made these even better or worse. I have no idea. I have legitimately no idea. Renamed this 82mm mortar motorcycle to one letter difference. I'm sure everyone would have noticed. First pen, I'm assuming that's first Pancherna. Maybe. Remove Cromwell 7 C phase bill. Okay. Third guard mech removes this 5 as a transport for the 85mm. Okay. 7th mech added 2 cards of this to. Why? Why are we buffing 7th mech? They're one of the best Soviet divisions in the game, and you just gave them 2 of the best Soviet AT guns. Like, generally, whatever. I digress. 126th fixed the KV-85 vet curve. Okay. 358 fixed the IG. Okay. And 9th Cav fixed the lag through AT rocket vet curve. Okay. So, generally nerf to allies. Very small, though. Every nerf was kind of countered with a buff for some reason, because the allies just can't be allowed to get worse. Axis generally buffed as was honestly needed. And we'll see. I have no idea if there's anything else coming for Steel Division 2. Of course, I hope so. But I know nothing. There's no further rumor down the pipeline or anything like that. I would hope at least we get another patch or 2 to make sure everything's kosher. You know, if we discover one of these new divisions is absolutely cracked, first check, you know, anything like that, we'll see. But if you guys enjoyed this, smash that like button, subscribe. Thanks a bunch, everybody, and I hope you all have a fantastic day.